Go for it.
Email it doesn't have.
Sorry. Good, Lisa? All right. I would like to call to order the Village of Lansing Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, February 25th, to order at 7:03 PM, not 7:02.
Oh, my.
I know.
My fault.
We do have a quorum here. I know Jim McCauley's online. He is not going to be voting tonight, so he's just a member of the public. Our alternate's not here yet, but when she does get here, I will just make a note for the minutes that we'll appoint her a voting member. I don't think there's a lot to vote on tonight, but first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for February 10th, 2025. I know those got distributed.
All I have is Lisa's and Lorraine's changes, which I made.
Okay, good.
Any other changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the February 10th minutes.
I move to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Lorraine, second by Lisa, all in favor?
Aye.
State.
You weren't here, that's right. And Pat abstains. Okay, next item on the agenda is the public comment period. This is an opportunity for anyone from the public to bring up anything that's not already on the agenda for this evening.
Susan Ainsley covering for the Board of Trustees.
Hey, Susan.
Maybe.
Oh, you're muted, Carla, but I see you.
Oh, it's Carl, I'm good. I was just
Carl
wondering.
Marceau observing for this, for the community party.
Everything's okay.
Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to close the public comment period.
Motion by Pat.
Second.
Second by Lisa, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the E-codes discussion. The planning board will discuss the information presented at the February 10th planning board meeting regarding E-codes. So, obviously Todd, I think Todd, right? Yeah, Todd.
Yeah.
Was here at the last meeting, gave us a presentation, answered some of the questions. I had asked if anybody had thoughts or anything to save them for this meeting, or send them to me or Mike. I don't think we got anything, but what thoughts did people have? It's been a few weeks, hopefully, if you had thoughts, they sunk in, but I don't know, if you had any specific preference or something that we wanted to pass along to the trustees, either in favor of it, them looking at it, or not.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Me too. I watched the video.
Okay.
Well, I also do. I think we have to be realistic about what we can do ourselves. And I will say that it was the other day, Lorraine and I were looking at something, and we wanted to try to find something on our own code, and it was really hard. You can't do a good search on our
We
code.
both started laughing because we couldn't find what we were looking for, and we knew it was in there,
And I said, well, I think it might be operator error, but.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Operator error. It
No,
was-
I mean, I thought it was me because, I'm older and all.
Oh, yeah, but I was typing in the information.
But she, yeah, no, and I said, gee, the thing is, you can always do it yourself, but I have finally caught on, there are some things that are best left to people who it's pretty easy. And the other thing that happened was this, I was looking for stuff on the tree code, and there are just so many municipalities in the New York State that use this, that would make cross-referencing just really helpful, I think, in the long run, for all of us. I was kind of surprised, actually, and it's like, oh, E-code, and I'm thinking, no, some of it is, I hear the presentation, it's like looking up a new word that you never knew, and now all of a sudden it's everywhere.
Right.
But I just think there's something to be said. I know people are concerned about the cost, but I think sometimes we just have to take that, I think it's time for us to kind of join the rest of some of our municipalities with this kind of, and I think it's a little more forward thinking, but I mean, it's, when you sign on, you're signing on for keeping updates going forward, and so it isn't just going to be free after that. I understand all that, but I think it's really worth considering. I have not checked with any of the other municipalities who have used this, and I think that's really important that we do that, have references, and see how their experience went. But I just don't see how our staff and we are going to have the time to do what I think really needs to be done with our code. I don't know. I guess the other thing is is our code, well, I guess there's some real philosophical things about codes that I really don't know as I want to get into at this point, but is this, I mean, there's other types of codes, like form-based code. Now, are we really looking at this, and is this really what we want?
I would just mention that a number of municipalities over the years, Groton was an early adopter of this way back when. And they found, and others have found, that it's really good for constituents.
Yeah, that, I was gonna say, that, yeah, and that's not unimportant, because I think one of the things that we don't do so great is reach out to our constituents. And, just on certain things that happen, and people are always saying, what's going on with this and we aren't as good about, if it would be available for them, you could just say, just go to the website and,
Yeah.
What do you think, Pat?
I think it's a great idea. I think the initial cost is pretty large, but I think it's worth it. I agree. I mean, it's being able to search the code is key, and, to Peter's point, it's good for the constituents. My question would be, I mean, he gave us a pretty good, impressive list of municipalities who are using them. Are there any who've left, and why?
say again?
Are there any municipalities who had general code?
And
stopped
stopped using
Why
it.
they stopped using it,
Good question. Unhappy users.
right? Or if they just found that the cost was prohibitive.
I'm listening and I have some comments for you.
Jim, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I use Village of Cayuga Heights as an example in short-term rentals. And I agree with the sentiment. There's a high cost, but I think this would be a worthwhile thing to do, because you can the Boolean is a little clunky, but I sort of figured out how to do it. As I may have said, I use short-term rental as a kind of guinea pig, and ultimately found the section. But I think it's worth doing. I tried to now go back and bring back the sort of assisted search page. I can't seem to do it, but on the whole, yeah, I think this is something that the village ought to seriously consider doing, and I think they should do it. And particularly given that Lisa said she was searching the existing code today, and couldn't find it. But so many other municipalities have done it. I would also say something I mentioned the last meeting. Somebody, be it Natalie or Peter or other people in the village, chat with some of the other users and see what they think. But on the whole, I'm favorably inclined.
Yeah, I think, right, there are some things that, we can do. We can go through, we can update code, we do that, the things that we've missed that we've identified, we could, go through and do that. I don't think there's anything ever wrong. It's been a long time since, there's been a full professional code review, an expert, an outside expert looking in. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The thing that I see being beneficial to this isn't so much somebody else, being able to go through and make the updates for us. I think that those are things that we can do, but I think the platform, and that goes back to, being able to find things differently, being able to look at, other municipalities that are using it. I think the platform is the kind of, and I didn't expect this when I saw the presentation from them. I expected, we come in and do this and here you go. But I think the platform kind of impressed me a little bit more than that I had kind of thought. That's my comment. Mike?
Wasn't really asked my opinion, but as you know, I have no problem giving it. What I hear is mostly the search part of it that everyone talks about, whether it's you or whether it's our constituents. To me, it seems like it's too much money for what little that we really do. I mean, Jody knows the numbers, but we probably average 5 or 6 law changes a year, which isn't that much. Our code isn't that big. Does that cost really, the need to search, does that really outweigh the $20,000 that you're gonna spend, the 15,000 plus the 1,000 a year, plus 6 times whatever it costs for
For the
them
update
to,
each
which they
law.
couldn't give us a number.
Yep.
No.
Still need to know that number.
And I did ask him multiple times, I was trying to get a number out of him.
So, I mean,
If say that we come up with a new local law, when they have to go and, codify that and get it in there, right, that's not covered under some like yearly maintenance, that's on a.
No, that is the one
Yeah.
thing that was
You know that, Chris?
concerning, yes.
have people cross-reference the other parts of the code or zoning, so that if the new law you're putting, if it changes or affects another
Section.
law.
Domino thing.
To reference.
I mean, right now, Jody does it. She's probably just itching to tell you this too.
I'm sure.
She does it, have a system of doing it. Unless things change with who's working around here, I mean, I could see possibly in the future, if we're all gone and you have some young folks in here to take over, but like I said, that's just my opinion. I'm not sure that the cost is worth it.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and there are other alternatives too, but for me, it's not just the us being able to search our code. Listen, I can go to the website, I can pull up the PDF. I generally know the PDF or the section for what I'm looking for. And if I don't, I can use the website and it'll pull up all the PDFs that have it in there. I can generally find what it is. I think that, that platform makes it a lot more accessible. And I just think that, being able to look at other municipalities too. I mean, we can kind of go and do that now
I mean,
anyway.
I'll use the same example I used before. I'm from Dryden, and if I have a code question, I call Dave. Because you may be able to read zoning or the code or the zoning in our book, but are you interpreting the way I'm interpreting? It's.
Well, we all work differently, though, and what I would do, you see, is I would research the code first online, and then I would call the officer and say, am I getting this right? Because that's what I do now with anything I need to worry about in legal things, because I'm thinking, I interpret it one way perhaps, but, they're the ones controlling whatever, and is that how they see it? And so I think there's some advantage to having it be available for people to be able to do that research. And I do think increasingly people are just doing stuff online, that's all.
Now, I understand everyone's point, be able to go on there and search, because I have a similar code search when I do the unified code,
Right,
but the unified code is 9 books.
That's gigantic, yeah.
So, I mean, I understand what you're talking about.
yeah. It is a leap of faith for sure in terms of the cost, because I know from when I was working, you sign on the initial, and then there's just always the little do. So, yeah, you have to be prepared for that. But I just don't know if are we going to really revise our code like it needs to be revised? Are we really going to put that effort into it? And we as a board it can't be just up to you guys, it has to be the board. And we have to make that commitment, and I'm not sure that I'm seeing that lately. That's all.
And I think, maybe the right thing to do isn't to go with a platform, maybe the right thing to do is to go through a professional code review. I have experts come in to do stuff that, me and my team, right, we've done stuff for 30 years. We want somebody to come in and do that. Maybe that's a different approach, whether it's, from them or somebody else, but to do a whole code review to pick up on things that we've missed or where there are inconsistencies or contradictions, that's an option too. It doesn't have to be through general code, but.
But it's not cheap either.
It's not cheap, no, that's the thing.
That's the thing, is when you weigh that, so, that's the advantage.
It's definitely an investment, and that's the thing that I think throws me off the most, is it is a high cost. I know that, the kind of sales tactic, let's spread out over 2 fiscal years, yeah, well, it's still a high cost, it doesn't, if you spread it out over 3 fiscal years, it's still a high cost.
I was thinking it was fairly reasonable myself, but.
I mean, it's a one-time cost, and then you're only paying for any new laws, but what would be really good is checking with these other municipalities to find out what it did cost them when they had a new law or updated a law. That's how you're gonna find out what the cost is, because I couldn't even get, like, I said to him, just throw something out. Is it $1,500? Is it $3,000? And he wouldn't budge on it. But, I mean, if we're contacting these other municipalities, we may be able to get a figure on what it does cost to update a law.
Or to Pat's point is, are there some people like, yeah, we're happy with it, or we're not happy with it, or, yeah, we were doing it, and now we've just decided no more.
But it does seem that there are a lot of, in the county, there are a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, so, and that are already on there.
When you do some of these searches, they're,
Oh, it's all over.
yeah, it's just the whole state, I mean.
I mean, I think it's a matter of just like modernizing the way you do
The
things.
sense, though, that the village board is serious about kind of going through the whole code and recodifying or changing things or updating.
I think,
Because that's something I think you do before you do this.
That's what I think too,
So otherwise,
actually.
you're paying for it twice.
yeah,
I think we've identified some real missteps in there, or just stupid things that just don't,
Makes sense.
it's referenced, and then you go to there and it's not there, and that kind of stuff with that. Actually, what I was thinking is, because I'm in favor of doing this, but I also am in favor of cleaning it up first so that it's more, it goes faster and because it's just, we know what we're doing, because we need to be more familiar with some of the stuff that we just don't deal with a lot. And we have never gone through our code piece by piece by piece, and we really should. I think as a board, that's what you really should be doing that. I think we focus on certainly 145, but there are, well, and subdivision stuff, but pretty much the other stuff is Jody's purview or somebody else's.
yeah.
But we should at least have some sort of familiarity with it, but I think we're not even sort of on, about, Kathleen has some questions about the subdivision lot line, and I'm thinking, I really don't think I really am quite as informed about that as I should be. And we voted to do that and send it along to the trustees. So maybe we need to do that first.
Did Todd give us, did I mishear him when he was talking? They did Trumansburg, but they created zoning for Trumansburg. And it was the $15,000, and they created code and so, well, you're not really creating code, you're creating zoning.
I don't think that was Trumansburg, I think that was some other place.
But it's the same for that as it would be for ours, which you already have, and all you're doing is basically reviewing. It's the same cost.
We'd have to ask that. I thought Trumansburg already has.
I don't remember.
Trumansburg created zoning, because I used to do work over there, they didn't have zoning.
That's how they ended up with a pig farm. That's how they ended up with a pig farm.
So, but if we do that, we're going to rely heavily on our legal counsel, right? And they cost us money too. So, I mean, you have to look at the big picture and decide what we want, I think, and I don't know. But if we're going to do that, we really have to commit to it. We have to set a timeline and we have to adhere to it. Because otherwise it'll just kind of.
Just won't get done yet.
Yeah.
Yes, Jody.
We have to remember that we had them do this once before. And once we had them do it, we said, forget it, we're gonna do our own. So we did. The process is, when we have a local law, you guys give it to the trustees have a public hearing. Once it's approved, it has to go to the state. I send it to the state. So I know that every single law is in there. Our attorney reviews it also. So there's my eyes on it, his eyes on it. I mean, I don't know about the content, I just know.
Actually, you both sign it, or at least that.
Yes, we have to sign it and send it to the state. So I know that every single thing is in there. When I update the code and send it to the lawyer, so they review it also. So there's two sets of eyes seeing that whatever was the law passed is into the code. I have to say, I don't deal with the code online. But since all this conversation has been going on, I went on and looked, and what is online is not even what's in my code book. It looks like they took, I don't know, like sections. So I went through the whole first section because that can be changed by resolution. And I went through and reformatted so everything was the same, the capitals were the same, the letters were the same, everything, because you're right. I'm like her, I want everything uniform and the same. And I actually made a list of how the formatting should go. And I took it from when we first originally did the code of back in 2005, the way that was formatted, because that was supposedly good. So now everything is going to be the same as that. I have gone through the first full section, reviewed, because that's the part I deal with. That can be changed by resolution. That was changed by the trustees at our last Thursday meeting. I sent it all to them. Like, I agree with you. What's online is not what's in our code books here.
Okay, that's
Okay, so then they approve that. So that first section is already done. And I can, and he's supposed to be putting it online, Ronnie. So that's done. Then I went to your section and started going through and doing the same kind of formatting things.
Why is the mayor, can I just ask, why is the mayor uploading that online? That doesn't seem that.
Because that is he
Profession.
set up the website.
Yeah.
There are some things on there that I can do, but there's some things I can't do.
I mean, maybe.
And that's one of the
web
things that-
person. Maybe you need to hire a part-time web person to do this project.
You know what, it's just a matter of going through, like she said, going through and reviewing and looking at it. If you guys, like, I didn't even know that I should go look at the code until I started listening to the meetings. And you guys are saying, well, you know, with that, and he was talking about the disposition list. I'm like, wait a minute, disposition list, we have everything in there. Look through, of course, the one online is not updated. And we're taking care of that. So as we find these, so the first part has all been fixed. And I think it should be very easy to fix the next part. We already had a meeting where we talked about all the things that you guys are finding that need to be fixed. So let's get that, let's put that all together. And then I think, again, I think it's a waste of money to spend that much money having someone else redo what we've already done.
However, fine, we can get it to a certain level, but it has to be, the hardest part of all of this stuff is maintenance.
It's not that
It's
hard.
maintenance, I know, but how is it that we got to this point where it's not the same as our code? So it should not be, it should be, well, to Lorraine's point, I don't think it should be our mayor. I think it should be somebody who does this. This is their job to do this.
To
And,
update, well,
and I,
Yeah.
and I just, and
Busy.
the fact of the matter is, honestly, to do this right, there has to be some expenditure of money in my estimation. That's all I can say. But I don't know, is E-code, is it?
Right.
It seemed pretty great to me, but I am one person, and I really haven't done the research to speak of, except every time I did some stuff with the tree law, I was bumping up onto E-code. Oh, there's E-code, like I said. But the real key to all this is we need somebody whose job it is to, maintenance is challenging, it's hard, you think, oh, I'll do that.
well, it used
And
to
the
be
next
the
thing-
planning board. Remember when Ned Hickey was here? There was some change, boom, there was a law, we were ready to go. But we were just kind of, it seemed like we got into the practice of collecting stuff.
Yes, exactly.
We really just need to take care of it when it happens.
Yeah, and for me, it's less formatting. I mean, I want the formatting to be consistent, do believe me. I don't care what the formatting is, as long as it's consistent.
Right.
It's more, and I'm sure that you submit the stuff to the state, absolutely. For me, it's more, you know, we can do something, the trustees can look at it, you all can look at it, there's still inconsistencies in the code, because I mean, it is small, but I mean, at the same time, there's a lot of complexity in there and cross-referencing to other areas, and it's easy for all of us to, not because I just looked at it and said, oh yeah, it's fine, there we go, it's a new law, and yeah, I'm sure somebody looked at the buffer strip thing that we referenced over there. No, it's just, there's a lot of
And
things
to
in
do it
there
right
that-
is really very, it's just a whole different mindset than you have to say, oh, and you have to stop looking, and you say, so we're in accordance with so-and-so, and it references, and then you've got to stop, and you've got to go to that section and be sure it's there. And it's time-consuming, and you can only do it for a short period of time before you go nuts. And, but it's got to be done, and so we've got to make that commitment, but I think ongoing, once it's in place, we got to really be sure that there is some sort of system.
There is a system now that happens, anytime there's an update, and it gets updated.
Online as well.
Maybe I should have been going through everything on the website to make sure that it was all, but I mean, I don't deal with the code, you guys do. Now, if you would have brought it to me and said, I'm looking at my book, and what I'm looking at online, these are different, then I could have gone on and fixed it.
But
Or had.
I kept using my book. I wasn't going online because I was getting
Right.
frustrated by going online.
Right.
So I just used my book.
Yep. Well, the goal is that once everything gets updated, the book will be what's online.
And we could take it from there and talk to Tom next year.
Todd.
Todd.
Yeah, I mean, there's, regardless of, E-code or not E-code, there's stuff that, we need to
Well,
be
it
cleaned up,
has-
and we're aware of that, and like, like
Just
Jody
the
said,
target.
some of it's, being addressed, as we speak, or it was addressed, Thursday, so. So I guess, I don't know, if you want, I can draft something up to send to the trustees that says, we would like you to look at it, here's our concerns, or it doesn't even have to be here are our thoughts about it, here are our concerns, here are the benefits that we see from it, and, ultimately, it's not up to us, it's up to the trustees to make, but I don't know what direction people are leaning. I mean, I can obviously,
Well, I think Peter was right that we have to, do our own homework first, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I certainly think it's something we should consider going forward, seriously, I mean it.
Okay.
That their platform is pretty nifty, and I think we should, though, talk to some of the people that use it. Are they still happy with it? Are they sorry they did it? Are there any people who are unhappy, like Pat said, who said, yeah, we thought this was going to be the greatest thing, and then didn't pan out?
And that's what we did back in 2005.
What?
Got it, and then decided that we didn't want it.
Oh.
And we went our own.
Long time ago.
But
So we just don't want to recreate history and.
But
I think it's the
but
same thing, though, I mean, that was 20
times
years
change.
ago, just like the original, whenever,
Times change.
because, didn't they do something with our code before that, too, or not? Or was 2005 was the first time that we had any
Yeah, they
engagement?
were there back in 1990.
He was throwing out.
Right, and so that was a long, so that was a long time for me between there and 2005, too.
But I mean, 2005 was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Come on.
When
Yeah.
Groton did it, all they did was produce books.
Right, I think you have some of them.
We
don't you?
had to update, but they'd send out quarterly or biannually, they'd send out inserts.
Right.
Yeah, like
Tear out
the federal
inserts.
government is, yeah.
And there's, we always had some assistant doing it, and we were, I would say, it didn't take more than one update before we were out of date.
Yeah.
It was wrong. I mean, it just was not a good system for keeping track of it, in part because we didn't have ownership of it. We were just kind of following instructions, and not well. So it wasn't electronic in those days. It was a book. The result of that, though, for me, is I still like having the book.
Well, I think to really absorb things, I still, and I don't know whether it's just my age, but even if I go to edit something, I need to print it.
Yeah.
And really, because it's, I don't know. And so I still like my book too. Plus, I take my book and I annotate things every time there's something that comes up to kind of remind yourself when
Think
this
about
comes
this,
up
that.
again. Yeah, and if this continues to be an issue, then you got to look at that and say, gee, maybe we need to make a change to the code. And it does remind you every time, but I think we need to get our house in order a bit first before we jump on this, but I really think we do need to do some research with people who are using it. Peter, do
I'll
you
talk
have
to-
experience with anybody?
Oh, yeah, I'll talk to, I think Groton does it, Dryden Village, I think.
Well, there are all sorts of, I mean, on his reference list, there were we were
Yeah,
surrounded.
I'm
Yeah,
happy
a lot of
to reach out to people and the municipal attorneys, too.
I think the real concern is, I don't mind when I buy things myself, that upfront cost, it's the maintenance, that's my main concern, are there's gonna be these hidden add-ons. You can't predict all of that totally, but.
Money's in the razor blades.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Well,
yeah,
Well, let me draft something up and I'll circulate it, and people can comment on it, and we'll pass it along. But it sounds like you know, yes, the planning board has interest in, the planning board has interest in, interest in the platform.
yes.
But not at this time, there's things, we want to talk to some other people that are using it. There's a lot that we know that we can do in-house and that we want to do in-house anyway. And then maybe at some point we'll, revisit it and come up with a different recommendation. Or maybe they want to take it and say, nope, we're going to go forward and, look at
Well-
stuff anyway. Or maybe they're going to say, no, we're not going to do anything with it.
Well, I mean,
And that's
now's the
fine.
budget thing, so that's why
Yeah.
it's come up especially, but,
Yeah, go ahead, Jim. Oh, Jim, did you have something?
no, I guess not.
I will note that, Jim is online tonight, but he is not a voting member, and now that you're here, I'm going to appoint you a voting member at 7:34 PM.
Okay, thank you.
How do you cast your vote?
We've been talking about the E-code.
And so it sounds like, just to recap things, I think everyone sees some benefit to it. There are some clear concerns with it too. I think the biggest one is probably cost. The second one is, losing control of being able to do those, do the things that we do in-house now, right? At some point, if we go with E-codes, at some point, we can do as much as we can, but then we turn it over to them and things are on their timetable. So it seems like, I'll draft something up, I'll circulate it to everybody, you can take a look at it. It's not gonna be, a recommendation to the trustees per se, more of a, we discussed it, we have interest in it, we wanna talk to some other municipalities that are using it, but there's also some things that we need to do in-house that even if the decision was made, yes, to move forward with it, we would want to have done first. And if the decision is made not to move forward, we still want to do all these things that we want to do before that anyway, so.
I was going to just, I've been thinking about this a lot.
Go for it.
My sense is that the Village of Lansing is really too small to justify the kind of expense and the kind of, being locked into a long relationship with E-code. I mean, you're the one who looks up code more than anybody else ever. There's only a handful of people who do on a regular basis within the Village of Lansing. And if those of us who do have to search a PDF can do so with enough facility, then this may not be the time for that. Maybe later on, if we grow as a village, if we have to do a lot more complicated things, and once we clean up a lot of that, once we have a kind of a clean code, we can codify it. But for right now, it seems like a really, a heavy lift to do what we need to do to give them what they need, but then also, I don't really see that we need it that much if we can have a clean PDF that people can move through.
Yep, and so I think there were similar comments about, from Mike, Jody, the cost is, I think everybody mentioned cost.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's in line with what the other comments were.
yeah.
And honestly, too, I think, if we do get stuff cleaned up, and, we, just keep it that way, and we keep the online version updated, there's, much better searching tools that we can use on the village website, too, other than here's a bunch of PDFs, go search them.
Right.
The one thing I will also share about E-codes is that it does, our PDFs that are out there right now, they're not accessible. I went and
accessible at all.
looked, they're not accessible at all. Just, no.
We have some issues.
And the thing
But
is,
there are ways to remediate that with
Right.
just in-house and not have to.
or even if we pay a consultant a small fee to
Yes.
make it accessible
I
to
was-
go-
I was
to go-
just
Right,
gonna say,
exactly.
I mean, there's tools to do it, so yeah, but that's, yeah.
I mean, I just remember when I was working, you go, we're gonna build a website, and, oh, we got this wonderful platform. We found it was actually better, and we had control with what we wanted by hiring an independent
Yeah, yep,
person,
absolutely.
and it was half the price. So, and what we got, and I think the loss of control is the biggie, actually, because it's sort of like, I still am one of these people that, I pay my bills online, but I pay them online. I don't just have this automatic thing where you forget what is going on after a while.
Sure.
And it just, I think, could be that, but the accessibility online, I think, is really something we really do need to think about.
Yeah.
As you said, the constituents
Yeah.
like it. But maybe this is not, there must be other ways we could.
Oh, there are, absolutely, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure. You can do it manually, there's tools you can run things through, and it makes recommendations, yeah, there's ways to do it. But yeah, that's just another thing. to think about. But that's something we can do ourselves
Yes.
with our code, right? We don't, unless we say, hey, we don't have time to do that, we want somebody else to do it, that's fine.
But that's a different
They
thing.
make our code in our format accessible, and it stays just like that, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll draft something up, I'll send it around and to all of you before I send anything to the trustees, and you can take a look at it.
And I will put one caveat on that. If we do some sort of significant rezoning, and if that rezoning results in a stimulation of growth in the village of Lansing, then we might want to consider something like E-code, because if that's the case, then we will have a lot more building happening, and we will have that kind of stimulus that would warrant, having the kind of organization that E-code brings.
Yeah, maybe something like that, and just an example, maybe there's more, but that does sound like a good example of a time that something like this would make more sense.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's not so much, and I mentioned this, Emil, before you were here. For me, it's not so much the format of the code, or the, format it however you want, as long as it's consistent. It's the platform underneath it, and it's a lot of money for the platform.
Yeah.
If we didn't have any code, well, that's an entirely different thing, sure, I mean, or if it was, woefully out of date, or there were just, I think that we know, and I'm sure there's other places we don't know, but we have a good feel for where there are things that need to be revisited and updated, and we can do that. So I'll draft something up, I'll send it around.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is to continue discussing tree law changes. And we have some stuff in front of us, and there was some stuff circulated. I don't know who wants to lead this, Lorraine, Lisa, both of you.
Lorraine.
Lorraine it is, no.
So Lisa and I finally felt that we were at a point where I could accept all the track changes. So we now have a
Great when you can
copy.
do that.
I know, I was scared. I said, uh-oh, here we go.
I said, well, be sure to save the other.
I know, I did. There was one thing, though, that we did change without permission. It was the clear cutting.
Oh, yeah, we haven't gotten to that.
That was the only additional change that we made in here.
Is the draft that you folks are working on, is that online anywhere as an attachment?
Jim, I emailed the planning board on Sunday morning, so if you check your email, you'll see it all in there.
Yep, it's there. It's the exact same one that's in that, and it's got the appendices and the tables.
Yep, it has everything in the email.
Yep,
All right, we look.
12:06 PM.
Thank you.
Where was the piece about clear cutting you changed?
We didn't change it.
Oh, I got you, oh, okay.
Okay, so.
We did make a little change, remember? We made a little change. didn't we?
Oh, that's the one, is that the one you just printed?
And B, we just changed the wording?
You've got a copy, maybe.
No, no, I didn't think, no, because it's this 25% thing.
Yeah, but I thought we added, clear cutting is prohibited.
Thing is prohibited.
Prohibited in the village.
Okay.
We added,
So under B,
Under B, okay.
yeah.
removal of trees from any tax parcel period, clear cutting is prohibited in the village. We added that.
Yeah.
Now, Natalie was going to look up the definition of clear cutting. It's very interesting, actually. Like anything, my God, you start down a path and my God, you could be there forever. So that's what I handed out earlier.
Okay.
That was some of the stuff I came across. And there are some things in the state of New York that I don't know. The thing is, we really got bogged down with this section, so maybe we should deal with it last, because once you start getting into it, it's just,
I was gonna
it's
say, I
hard.
made it to the second paragraph, and they say clear cutting is anything over, trees over 6 inches. Yeah,
Well, but that's very interesting, because
yeah.
that is exactly what David Fernandez said was 7 inch. He said trees, if you look at his chart, that's going to be in the appendix, anything that's 6 inches or less is a zero count. So 7 inches seems to be a sweet spot of some sort, according to the state, as it turned out. So, and it was just, I don't know what we want to do with it, but one of the things that came up that I came across this was the Village of Baxter Estates. And what they have done is they have 2 classifications of trees. And this one I did not hand out yet, because I think we have to discuss whether we want to get into any of this. And they have trees with a diameter of less than 7 inches and trees with a diameter of 7 or more. And then they have based it that when anybody who owns property may use Class A trees, the 7 inches less than, they may do that without any problems. But if it's over 7 inches or over, then they have to come and get a permit for them. But maybe, I was even wondering if this is something we put in our special permit as a condition somehow. Because this is tied into subdivisions of special permits. But I mean, this particular thing is the part that we just keep getting hung up on, and I just don't know what to do with it quite.
Are you talking about that provision there?
25% over 3 years and all that.
With just, I know you said just subdivisions and special permits, but what if, does it apply to anyone cutting down trees?
Well, it depends on what we want, doesn't it? That's what I'm saying. And that's what I just.
Unless, of course, they're already dead or.
Oh, well, yeah, but we've already made
already
provisions
have
for
those
that.
provisions for that.
That's okay, that's understood, but, so this was another way to look at it, that one of the ones that I thought was interesting is, there's these 2 kind of, anything 7 inch, above 7 inches, you know, you really, and then, then this thing about clear cutting, and there was this, what is it, the basil something.
Basil area.
Oh, basal area.
Oh, my gosh, and then I actually found a definition of what that meant, since I didn't know, and I came across that only today. So there's ways of looking at that, but that gets into whether our tree density. And so I'm just wondering what approach we want to take on this is the point. The more we started looking at that, by the time we just got fried, what can I say? It's complicated.
Yeah.
And what do we want is the real point, because I think we all feel that this is not enforceable, this 25% over 3 years. Right?
Again, it's difficult, yeah, I mean,
Unless it's obvious,
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to.
I mean, the real thing we want is not to have another Dart Drive where these 150-year-old trees are all cut down. And we're left with this mud. You know?
yeah.
But I don't know, does anybody have any other feelings? And I'm willing to do more research, I think. We're happy to do that, but what way do we want to go with this? Do we want to just make this a commercial thing? Not residential?
Which piece?
No.
The whole
Cutting
thing?
any trees, period.
Your residential is where it's gonna happen the most.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or big undeveloped,
Yeah,
I mean, we don't have that many of them big undeveloped commercial lots, I mean,
right.
and we don't have that.
Private ones,
Yeah,
so they'll be commercial, they'll come to us.
I think rather than commercial residential, we could just say undeveloped property versus developed property, because that would be a catch-all. So for instance, if, okay, I only have a half an acre, so it doesn't count, but if I had, say I had 10 acres and I subdivided, and, half of my acres are wooded, that would be considered an undeveloped lot, and that would come under this, because that could be something that would be clear cut for development, and that would be terrible. So would apply to a residential property as well as a commercial property.
Okay.
Because really, what we're trying to do is protect where there are lots of trees, we don't want them all gone.
No,
And it's really kind of simple when you think about it that way. I mean, it's all really complex, but the baseline is, just don't make it so that we lose all the, environmental value of an area and then cause all sorts of runoff issues for the neighbors and for, our stormwater and all that kind of stuff.
so undeveloped versus developed.
That
That's kinda
sounds
how-
like an approach. And Lorraine, I hadn't moved it to the right folder.
Yeah, I think if we start, again, we can revisit clear cutting later, I'm hesitant to introduce yet, I would think there was enough, issues with tree units and just how difficult that was to go and figure out. I feel like if then we go and introduce, I'm just looking at the calculation for, calculating basal area, and, is that, maybe if we were a different size municipality, maybe that would again be beneficial, but, I think one of the things that we're trying to do through this review is protect the natural resources here, but make it less onerous for development, whether that's residential or commercial, and now that we have gotten a couple, applicants through that and heard some, just heard some things from other people who maybe would have gone through the process but didn't because it was onerous, maybe that's what we should focus on and not trying to,
But I do think, what do you feel about leaving that language in there about clear cutting is prohibited in the village?
I'm fine with that.
It's a little.
That would be a question I have for our village attorney.
But then
Yes.
If we,
clear cutting.
Yeah, exactly, that's why I brought that.
Still got to define.
can we punt that down the line where we define clear cutting later, or we leave the sense of clear cutting up to, the discretion of whatever body is reviewing that development?
Is this first, what did I do with my own paper of clear cutting?
Vagueness is a problem,
Yes, vagueness is a problem.
so it needs definition.
Clear cutting definitions, that's why I was handing these out.
But, right, I mean,
Let's think about it.
we can get this updated, then we can include the definition of clear, where are the other definitions? Or, because they're not,
Well, this is the other thing
they're
that,
not in the tree law per se.
no, this is the thing we've also are talked about with that, is that the definitions where are the definitions, by the way, Mr. Code Officer?
Because we went to try and find them, remember, Lisa?
Definitions for zoning, and some of them are in the beginning of zoning.
Some of them are in the beginning,
Beginning of zoning,
and the others are where?
and you have others in chapter 75.
See, this is,
In some definitions
And then you,
are the solar definitions in the solar law?
well, see, I don't understand why we do that.
They were at the very beginning, remember in the first page?
I just wasn't sure if that was part of the law, or if that got moved to some other definition.
Oh,
and then there are also some in the very beginning of
See, I don't like that.
the actual code.
yeah, they need to be
Where
together.
it says
like-
definitions. It should be number 2 or so, is it?
That would make sense.
But this was the thing is like, where are the definitions? Why do we not keep the definitions that are part of, I can understand why there's some generic definitions, but
Section 2 or
why are
something.
they not with the code?
They should be. It would be good to have both. You could have a general definitions list that has all the definitions, but in each section that's relevant,
Right.
those things should be at the top of that section always.
So maybe that's part of the thing we want to do as we're going through this, because,
Sometimes you see these definition sections, and they're alphabetical, not topical. And often you need a topical,
but no, I was to say, yes,
ties to the subject matter.
Yes.
So that's why they usually get stuck in the
but it was like,
chapter.
we're saying, where are the definitions? Because I can't find the definitions.
We were looking for the appendix, and it wasn't there, because we were looking online, and the appendix for the tree section is not there.
The uniform code has, it's italicized, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Italicized if there's a definition for it, and then it has a section that has definition.
okay, but you see, we don't have a guide that even tells people this.
I know.
So, but the fact of the matter is at the appendix, to me, an appendix at the end of like this is where I'm gonna find anything I need that pertains to this whole section. And I just think this is a crazy way to to do this.
Yeah, an appendix, yes, I would want to find a lot of stuff in there, but I think putting a definition in an appendix.
Oh, well, I don't care if it's the appendix, then I just
Okay.
want it at the back. So I
Okay.
can find it.
Right, an appendix you can go and change, right, that's meant to be
Right,
more of a
right.
living document. I think when you're talking about definitions related to a local law or code, you don't
Want everything.
changing on a
Right,
whim, nor
right.
should you,
No.
right? That should be more of a,
But
here's the definition in the code, wherever that is, if it's in the definitions part, great, and if you want to change it, you have to change, there's a process for changing that.
But the zoning that has a definition section in zoning.
Okay. So, I guess back to the ultimate point, we can keep clear cutting here in this for the purpose of moving forward with the tree law,
We
and
need a
then,
definition.
define clear cutting in any other definitions separately, when they go in here before we're ready to, pass this along, or if they need to go in another section of code.
Lisa, the definitions we got here, they come from a kind of
This,
residential or
no,
commercial,
this one,
or is it forestry?
I know it's more forestry is the problem.
Yeah.
Because
That's what it
I
feels
think I Googled, what did I do? I Googled, and then I got this New York code here, the jurisdiction and review of clear cutting, and it does, it's forest, mostly forest.
Yeah. When you look at the basal area down below too, that kind of specifically is talking about the,
Measurement and given it is using forestry management.
yeah.
Yeah. Which may not be
Appropriate, but it,
a residence.
right, that's what I'm,
Once again, what I see as the hardest part to keep track of is where it says a 10-year cutting cycle.
well, this is the problem with this.
I have to take a picture, and who knows what other code officer, somebody else is gonna be here.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, you're not, yeah.
So that makes it very difficult.
Well, yes, it does. And basically it is,
AI is gonna get better, yeah.
but I just don't know how, we just don't know how to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, again, I think, being realistic about it, what is it that we're trying to protect? And that we'll be able to,
Back into it
enforce.
somehow.
And, yeah.
But that was the only thing I think that we really got hung up on.
Yeah.
The rest is, what do you think about the appendix, I think, but we need to go through this, right?
The appendix.
I don't know, so that was the one thing. The rest, was there anything else we changed?
No, that was the only thing.
Lorraine, I did find some things.
Some errors?
Typos?
Yeah, good, tell us.
Oh, tell us.
At work, I'm kind of in a proofreading mode, so.
Oh, yeah, no.
Do you want to is it just like grammatical format?
Stuff.
Oh,
You want to send it?
I could just,
yeah, just send it. Just do it and track changes and send it to me. Is that,
Or just give it to her, did you already circle it?
oh, yeah, I mean, whatever's easier.
Yeah, just give it to her.
Whatever's easier. I have not gone through and proofed this.
Yeah, we didn't do the proofreading.
No. I'm just trying to get this, like,
Do you want to, so do you want to look at the appendixes?
Yeah.
Let's do that, yeah. Sorry.
I mean, we've got it all printed.
Yeah, especially that first chart, so everybody can
I
see.
That's the one you have in Excel, right?
Yeah, so I have them in order in that Word document, and so the first one is just a small 3-unit chart. The tree species was also in Excel, and that was the second attachment. Yeah. That's the big one, yeah. Which I don't know if you need to pull that up.
I'm so screwed up. I thought I had everything in. Maybe this is it. Yes, oh my God.
We know what it is we want to control.
Yeah.
What?
We need to understand what it is we want to control.
Yeah.
And clear cutting is, I hear it and I visualize the old films you'd see of mining and forestry and all the dead trees laying on the ground and all of that stuff. Maybe we want to change the terminology.
Well, exactly, I'm not sure.
Overcutting.
Well, indiscriminate, it's in the beginning.
For a per acre number of trees of a certain size, and you're into the overcutting area, you need a permit, or you need to do this.
Well, and so that sort of starts out here when we wanted to say, the indiscriminate removal of trees. That's, we say that in our purpose, but it's more about, keep maintaining the tree density. And have we really done that here? And I still feel like we really haven't. Or it's so complicated that or it's not enforceable. It's this 25% thing is over 3 years.
The other things, as they grow, density may not be proper management.
Well, the thing that even.
Canopy density might be the thing that we can identify for that, because that doesn't talk about the number of, like,
The DBH, yes.
trunks you have, it talks about the leaf coverage you have.
Yeah, I did.
Well, I think David Fernandez said too, sometimes you don't want all these little saplings, you
Right.
clear them out.
Yeah.
But you want, so that's why I think that 7 inches in diameter gets to be kind of, I kept finding that, actually. That seems to be something about, so you gotta get your tape measure out. That's not that big.
It's not, no.
When you start going around it. But when you're talking stuff like this, come on. And I think that's what we want to prevent. So, I don't know if anybody else wants to do a little research on this, but if you come up with any thoughts, please let us know.
We're not gonna be able to see that.
So is he putting up the appendix? Okay.
Yeah,
Do you want to zoom in on that, Mike?
No, he doesn't.
Again? Yeah, there you go. A little bit more, maybe. Yeah, there we go.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's better. Oh, yeah, okay.
So this was information that David Fernandez suggested to us, so we incorporated it and put together a table. Basically updated, as you'll notice, the table that, well, I have a copy of that. Lisa, remember that?
I actually wrote
Did you?
something, no, I'm just looking at this.
I have a copy of it here. Oh, that one.
Yeah, this,
The old-
basically, we redid this table based on David's suggestions.
I guess,
I don't have it.
here. But I think one of the things on the very first line is, do we want to write 1 tree unit, or do we want it to say 1.0? Do we care? 1 tree unit, or do we just put 1, 2, 3, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do we restate tree unit?
Well, here's the thing, there's nowhere where we have anything that could calculate a half a unit.
No, I don't think
Yeah,
so,
so
not
then-
anymore, not anymore.
We don't have to do the 0.0, everything's in whole numbers, yeah.
Or, but do we say 1 tree unit, or we just say 1.0? Because it says tree unit value, does it matter?
Oh, right, so you don't need to repeat the word tree unit over and
I'm
over
a
again.
fan
since
of
the
not
top.
repeating something, because you start zoning out, kind of.
Yeah.
So what's really of interest is 1.0, or 2, or 3, or whatever.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't think we even have to do the 0.0, just 1.
Just 1, 2.
0.
Yeah, 'cause-
Just a digit.
Right, because we're doing everything by whole numbers.
Okay, so we'll just do 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 0, 1, 2,
So then to your,
4, 6, and 8.
to your other point, and did anyone have questions about those ones up at the top there? Those are the ones that we got from,
Yeah,
David,
yeah.
David, yeah.
single stem deciduous tree, minimum, yeah.
Yeah,
1 conifer minimum, blah, 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 blah. And then we did our, we switched these, but multi-stem.
okay,
And-
yeah,
I think this is great.
yeah. So when you get down to this next part where it says existing, should it be 6 or should it be 7 for the first?
So
I know you mentioned 7 a few times.
No, I think we go with what he said.
Okay.
Don't you think?
I'm absolutely happy to go with what he said. If we think that's a little too restrictive, we could move up to a 7, because there is there's a difference between a 6 and a 7-inch tree. If we're concerned about making sure that we leave room for folks to be able to develop without it being onerous, we could move up to the 7 and just bump up that first one and the second one to reflect that. But I think this is actually a really good thing. And if you can take anything out and not have it count against you as a tree unit, If it's under 6 inches, then that's fine. It leaves plenty of room for developers to do what they need to do, and plenty of room for homeowners to do what they need to do.
So that was the determining tree unit thing, then what was the next
That
thing?
is a lot cleaner than
Ours.
the current version.
Yeah, and there are a couple definitions.
Yeah, I saw the bald and burlap. Can you scroll down just a little bit more, Mike?
There's 2 more on there.
Okay.
Bald and burlap was first, then it was
Multi-stem
multi-stem second,
diameter.
and then,
Just so people know what that means.
Yeah, I think this is wonderful. I think it gives us a really good framework from which we can work.
yeah. So that was the first thing in the appendix, right?
Yeah, the second thing is the plant species list, which was on the legal paper, right, which was actually updated. I think Mike will probably pull it up.
Yep. Did you change anything to that, or is that just?
No, but David Fernandez and
Aurora?
Athena did.
Athena, no.
They updated it again after they met here, and then resent it to Lisa and I. So that version that I've sent to all of you is the most recent
Okay,
version.
okay. Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's.
Yeah, that's like gold, yeah.
It's a fantastic list.
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
yeah.
And I, you know, especially addressing the various things that we want, like, hey, these street trees, okay, well, I'm gonna, what's salt resistant, I'm gonna look at that, or
Yep.
as we talk about, you know, parking lot, or, you know, other things, so I thought that was great, the little notes that they called out in those.
Oh, yeah.
In those areas there, I think that's great.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
And I think, though, too, maybe we want to come up with, it can't be me just because I don't know enough about trees, but whatever review for, you know, something's going to become invasive, okay, take it off the list. So however, we should just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's no different than like some other stuff in the code, like we should have
It's
some
maintenance,
process
it's
to
about
maintain it, yeah.
maintenance.
Right. Well, one way that we can do that, that doesn't put the onus on us, is if we refer to the New York State list of invasives.
Okay.
And they update that regularly. So, you know, we don't, I mean, this is a published list that David has put together for us as things to put in. If we want to have invasives, we can just point people to the New York State DEC, and they update it for us.
There you go.
So lovely.
Okay.
You need something?
I
It
think,
also means that when we're reviewing someone's planting plan,
We need to be looking at it.
we as a planning board, as a body, need to make sure that we refer to that every couple of years and make sure we're familiar.
Yeah, Mike will do that.
Michael.
Pass it down.
Mike, sorry.
Put it on the calendar. What year was that?
29.
And then I think the next, number 3, specifications and notes, I think everybody has a copy of them. I had my copy. This was also updated, they updated this after they met with us, and then Lisa, for 4 and 5, Lisa did her investigating skills, and
Because I looked up part 6, which was already part of our code.
if you click on the links, it'll take you to the PDFs. I also sent each of you the PDFs in that email, so the documents, the soil management, and the planting and transplanting. Part 6.
I will say at the bottom of the specifications and notes, under decompaction,
Yep.
the second method such as scoop and dump.
Yes.
And are used to, that second and should just be removed. Methods such as scoop and dump are used to scarify.
Oh, yeah.
And fracture soils to adapt.
Oh, yes, I actually found it
Sorry.
at one point.
Yeah, you did.
And I didn't get, and then,
There's my editing for the day.
okay, so then you have the parts 2 and part 6. One of the things that I did come across too is, and this is actually, this I did think maybe we wanted to add as a condition of a special permit, you know how we're adding the green, 2 green things? This village adopts basically the specifications, standards, and practice of the international, and it's this group here. Or the most recent, for all tree work done in the village. so that you add that as a condition, so they have to do the scoop and some decompaction kind of stuff. I don't know, something to think about.
Hey, you're talking about adding this,
We are for the appendix, but I'm,
adding this to the special permit.
no, just the decompaction part. The scoop and dump method, because I was even wondering if we wanted to add in the appendix, this little part I came across that is scoop and dump method of soil remediation, and it just gives you the 6 things you do. You apply a 6-inch layer of compost, use a backhoe to dig down 18-inch, mix it 3 feet into the air, drop on the ground smooth, and that's it. And I don't know if we need to be that specific with people, but I thought maybe we talked about some other little things that maybe we'd throw in just.
Right, like like no volcanoes.
Yeah, don't,
Just some
you
kind
know
of-
how to mulch,
Some high level,
just sort of little tips on.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I came across too, for diversity of structure, it's called, which is overstory, understory, and shrubs, was the rule of 10, 20, 30, which is no single species, this was for diversity, so they don't all die at once. No greater than 20% of any genus, and no greater than 30% of any tree family. I guess that's getting a bit much, but we could just throw it in the appendix.
I mean, they're
Fine.
guidelines, right? If
Yeah.
if you're really going out looking for the best practices, here you go. We can say, look at what's out there in the appendix. That's gonna give you all the best practices for how we would like to see things planted, done, transplanted, whatever.
Just have to be clear that
Yes.
it's suggestive as
Right.
opposed to.
Yes,
Yep.
suggested, other things to consider kind of
Yep.
thing,
Right,
of interest.
I think that's great.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we should come up with a few more of those, okay.
Yeah, I mean, for an appendix, because it's non-binding,
Yeah, it's-
I think being able to have something that someone can refer to
Yeah.
is wonderful guidance that we can give them as a municipality.
Okay,
I think it helps with the development too, them coming in and, okay, well, we've had that discussion about, I'm gonna hire, I hired somebody in the Northeast. Well, this Northeast is different than other parts of Northeast, so
Right.
at least if we give them something, especially I'm thinking, bigger developers as they come in, right, they're not wasting money coming back with 5 different revisions of a planting plan because they didn't have all the specifics for here, so.
okay, so I think we need one more pass, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing I'm a little not so sure about is at the end of
What part do you,
the planting practice document that they
sent us?
sent us, they have an undesired trees and shrubs, and then they have, and these are invasive, and then they have examples of recommended herbaceous perennials. So,
Should those be on that?
That other document, the big,
yeah, I'm wondering if those could be on a spreadsheet as well, so that we can kind of refer to them. But the other thing too is, I mean, it's a little bit confusing, because their big title is undesired trees and shrubs, and then they have recommended
Oh, yeah,
perennials
but
under.
yeah.
So I'm like, and there's only 4 that are recommended, and so I
Why
almost,
don't we get rid of it?
I almost think we should strike the recommended perennials section, because I don't think it makes sense within that.
Because we're in the tree code.
Right.
Plus, I just noticed that I had flipped in on mine, I don't know if I did this Westchester Pleasantville thing, that was just, oh, good, it's not on there.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then there's like a little thing, like, under undesired native trees, Prunus serotonia, black cherry, messy fruit. But if you're planting it in your backyard.
you don't care.
You don't
want
care about the messy
birds are
fruit,
happy
because the
and
birds,
deer-
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah, there might be right, do you want it as a street tree? Probably not.
right, so it maybe if it's a thing where, because that is like actually one of the best things you could plant for native habitat, but you can't put it as a street tree, and you can't put it as a parking lot tree, but like on your backyard, or, whatever, that's fine.
So do we not even want this part?
I,
Undesired trees?
I think it's helpful. Like, for somebody like me, I would have no idea. Like, I
Yeah,
would,
same with me.
I would love this. I would be like, okay, so I know it's a messy fruit, but I'm gonna put it in anyway,
I
right?
want messy fruit, I don't mind messy fruit.
Right.
The animals love messy fruit.
But I would want it, but that's helpful to know, I think.
Yeah, it's also, I think, I mean, it's a helpful list. I don't think it's an exhaustive list, because there's lots of things that have problems. I think maybe one thing that might be helpful is, I wonder if we can ask them for a resource that gets updated. So for instance, I know Cornell keeps a list of trees that are susceptible to disease.
Well, this one, they do have like adelgid and like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
they do talk about the soil.
Yeah, so I think maybe, rather than have a thing like this that will have to get updated by us, again, pointing to a resource of, these are trees that, this disease has popped up, and so you don't want to plant these trees anymore. Something that we can just say, look at that resource, and, Cornell's department updates it as opposed to us.
So it like disease prone and stuff. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it is good to have. It is good to have, and I
So
think.
how would this differ, do you think, from the New York State one?
Well, so the New York State one's invasive.
Yeah.
These aren't invasive,
But
these
the
are just
second-
like,
the
hey, if
second-
you plant these,
Do so at your own risk, it might not work out as well as you think it's going to, but it's not invasive. Versus some of the other stuff they have on that big document, it's like, hey, yes, these are, I don't know, it's kind of interesting
Well, the
though, like,
second
some of these could end up on there, like, hey, this might be right, given that here's the following,
things you need to know about them.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, almost all of these are things that are really problematic. I think maybe except for the messy fruit one, because that's a subjective piece.
Yeah.
But everything else on there is sound.
Yep.
And I think important to know that people should be planting these, because you can get these all over the place.
Yep.
I like mountain laurel.
What?
I like mountain laurel.
I love mountain.
But apparently,
I
if you have high-quality rich forest soil, good for you. That's the thing,
It's
yeah.
got the right soil.
No, in fact, I tried to grow it here, and guess what?
Yeah.
It doesn't like it.
So I just wonder if it almost, right, it would be great if there was a resource to point to.
in lieu of that, though, it seems like there should be a separate thing. Here's the New York State invasive list.
Here's things that
So
again,
this
not
is a
that we.
more local one, you think?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what actually
Well,
might
maybe
be,
that's what we need to say, is undesired tree within the landscape of the village, or.
right, how about a line that says something like, within the village of Lansing, we tend to have high pH soils.
Yeah.
So these are, and in our region, we have these diseases or these bugs, these insects, so stay away from these. So that could be, one liner, and then.
Or if it could say, undesired trees and shrubs within the landscape and soil of the village of Lansing.
But I don't think we should put this on David's document.
No, we'd have.
No, I think it should be a
We would
separate.
have it separate.
I think it's its own separate, in lieu of finding some resource that we can point to.
Right.
Again, this is so small that if we review it once a year over the summer, say,
Hey, it's our review meeting, just like the trustees have their annual reorg meeting, we have our, for the, 10 things that we want to review, hopefully it's pretty quick, I mean, especially that one section.
Yeah,
yeah, I would say break it out into its own section if we can't find a resource.
This last part.
Yeah.
right, and even if we can,
Part of this, yeah.
I'd say let's keep it, let's put that line in saying, in the village of Lansing, we have high pH soils, and in this region, we have these diseases and these insects that cause damage. Avoid these or approach them with caution. And then look to this resource for the most updated lists.
And on the back, where there's that list of invasive ones, would those be covered on the state's invasive species list? Mm-hmm. Okay,
Probably,
okay.
and there's probably more.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say.
No Norway, me.
Okay, so do we know what we're doing here? Lorraine? Okay, so that's the appendix. Okay.
Anything else on
that? I think that was everything that was.
So,
Both of you, that was well done.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a lot of work, that's well done.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda, other business, review needed code zoning changes and correction rules codification.
Have we talked it all out?
I'm looking at Mike over here.
Well, we know for shared uses needs to be.
Oh, my God.
Okay. That, although Natalie and I have run through a couple of items that are
Problematic?
not consistent.
Oh, how strange.
Yeah, which is not unusual for this, but have a list of, you have the use and then what district it's in. A lot of times you'll have either a single asterisk or you'll have a second one. Yeah, or you have two asterisks or you have a one next to it. It's easy to understand, it references back to where it lists out all of the uses allowed in each district, but unless you take a look at it, sometimes they're not accurate, like one of them that's supposed to have two.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
I've got to look through that. We started to find that, Natalie and I started to find that, she pointed it out and going, yeah, I found one over here too, so.
but you know what, we really just need to start over. I mean, you just need to take it line by line and cell by cell. It seems.
So I could be tasked with doing that because I deal with it.
And I, of course, wanted headers. I want headers so that I know which district is which. I want this to say LDR and MDR.
I'd actually rather eliminate the asterisk and everything and just leave a note to please check the district for other required items.
Oh,
And just leave in there what, leave in there what you should have them go over, okay, yeah, it's part of commercial low traffic. And down below, it would tell you to reference that section of the code, so you go back to see if it has any additional conditions and whatnot, instead of trying to go through and put an asterisk here, double one here, and get it so confusing.
And in that case, then you can also take this, move each header up to each column and just put a checkbox, whether it's valid in that
Yes,
district or not.
please,
A little more simple.
yeah,
that would be great.
yeah, I like that. I mean,
And one other thing that we hadn't touched on before, and I'm going to send you an example. It's difficult to explain, and I'm not very, even if it wasn't difficult, I have a hard time explaining things to other people about zoning or whatnot, but I'll do the best I can. Just take any district and you have, let me back up a second. Take a look at the third use down where it says.
Alteration.
To a building of improved site. If you take just any district, let's say you have a certain use, and all of a sudden that use is going to get changed to a different use that's allowed but it's allowed with a special permit. So naturally, you would figure, okay, they have to come and get a special permit, but that's not the case, because if you are changing an actual allowed use without a special permit, it'll say change of use without change in parking does not require a special permit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So this is how it can get really confusing. So I want to simplify that somehow, but I don't know exactly right now how to do that. This may not be something that we tackle this time around. I think it's something that needs to be done. The only thing I can do right now is to stay consistent in how I handle every change of use. But like I said, I'll send an example, and you'll see, as soon as you see it, you'll go, oh yeah, this is confusing. So hold on to that for a little bit, I'll send you an example.
So basically, if we have headers, then you would just have an X in there that's allowed or not allowed. And then how would you,
I would just said, there's, just a note at the bottom that says, for, like you said, for.
Refer
to the, specific, section for, any additional, conditions or regulations or whatever.
So you don't have the 1-star, the 2-star, the 1, anything, you just have a simple one-liner at the bottom that says, hey, go look, go look here for everything else you need to know. Yes, it's allowed, maybe.
So, you know what else maybe would be kind of nice? Is in the header, if you would reference actually the code number, 145 let's say high-density resident, 145-41, right underneath that, so they would know where to look when you, if you're going to refer them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that,
And it won't be a page number, it's going to be just the section.
There should just be one other line underneath it.
Yeah, it would be right underneath
Yeah.
LDR.
And if you're getting rid of all those footnotes at the bottom, it still should shorten it up by 2 lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be nice.
Wouldn't it be handy?
Yeah.
Because I would find that handy, because I would think, oh, when I look at myself, I think, okay, I gotta go to LDR. Now, I happen to have tabbed my book, but at least I would sort of know where to flip to. I would really like that.
So just the uses going
Uses,
vertical, and then you had the districts up top going horizontal, and then there's exit, so you're doing basically like, okay, that's
Yeah.
allowed. And then where the districts are, it says reference section, blah, blah, blah.
or you could just say LDR, and then it would be like, where is low density? It's 145-39, right underneath it,
I'll come up with a sample for you.
as in the header, so that's not.
Example of what I'm talking about, that can.
Yeah, because, yeah, that would be great. Because I think once we get this under control, we can sort of,
Dig into some of the.
yeah, because with some of these, we know are outdated,
Yeah.
even how we describe them.
Because there's also another example that I spoke with Natalie about, that within the actual district, take anyone you want, LDR, whatever, it'll reference change of use with no parking, but then you look under 145-59, which has special permit, and it has exempted, it has change of use with parking is exempted, so it doesn't make any sense. Like I said, it's very hard to explain. I'll give you samples. That's what I end up doing.
Yeah.
So. I know, I've already lost everybody.
Well, no, the thing is, once you give it a sample, then it's, an example really is worth a lot.
And just, quick question, just because it came up before, the self-storage facilities, where do they?
They used to be in CL,
Self-storage is in
It's not listed as a use.
commercial high traffic.
it used to be even, when we did the PDA with, what's its name? DJ's. One of the uses that could have been on that property on Oakrest was a self-storage.
Would it be under
Or they did
warehousing,
it.
storage, or
It would be
distribution?
utility no, I'm sorry, it would be under.
Storage, 44 or 49?
Yeah, so last one, warehouse, storing, and distribution.
Okay, so that includes,
Self-storage
But we're saying, so that's just in commercial high traffic,
and business
and business
technology.
technology, yeah.
And of course, after you do all this, Lisa, you had suggested at one time going through and possibly adding uses to different districts or taking out uses from different districts.
To be sure that it
One example is
correlates with this.
undertaking, you don't have the undertaking, so.
Yeah,
Just items like that.
But we could.
we could.
I think we actually should. Because there's a handful, like, for instance, I'm seeing there's a handful of things that are in, like, commercial high traffic.
Right.
Right, and we kind of threw anything in there, but, if what we want is, we want the village to be kind of a vibrant, kind of have a vibrant commercial area where people are coming and going and shopping and whatever else, then you don't want certain kinds of uses there, like, you don't want construction storage in the middle of your commercial high traffic. Because that means that they could, like, in the middle of where you have your shops, you could have a construction company in their storage space. You know,
Oh, well, yeah, and that was one of the things that, but the Ballman Group referred to, construction storage.
I feel like I've asked this question before. Line 23, members-only fuel station. We have it listed as a use, but we don't allow it anywhere.
I know, but we have it at BJ's.
so is that a use under our PDA, though?
Yeah, though, right, yeah, so,
So,
yeah, so I wonder, yeah.
so should we even have PDA uses here, or do we have another column that says?
PDA.
No, yeah, don't, I think PDAs though handled completely separately outside the charter
It's
uses
not,
as a
it's
whole.
its own
It's-
zone.
yeah.
It's its own zone. It
Yeah.
has nothing.
And it's different, or it can
But you're
potentially
right.
always be different, so yeah.
So, yeah, why do we have that there?
Right.
Should we allow it somewhere or not?
Why do we have it there?
I don't know, it's the,
How
I
does that-
feel like I asked it before, but maybe not.
Yeah, and other things like, I think, and I don't remember, I'll have to look into it, but things like big box stores,
Yes.
big box stores are kind of a different use than other kinds of, like, commercial high traffic, just because of the way their footprints work. Do we differentiate them, or do we want to differentiate them?
Where's the big box store?
We don't have any.
It's not, right, it's not a use, it would be under, right, you know.
Retail sales,
Sure.
Sales or something like that.
Yeah.
sales, repair, and maintenance?
I also love that we still, and I have this one I haven't mentioned.
Mentioned before that we label it theater, nightclub, or discotheque. Just saying.
Talk about back in the old days.
Nightclub even.
See somebody coming and arguing with Mike, so you're opening a nightclub? No, I'm opening a discotheque. It's not here to do. Right. See, that would make, see, that's the one thing that I would be like, is the karaoke bar a discotheque? I don't know. Like,
Right.
Where's that coming?
Oh, my, well,
Yeah.
no, when you start,
Somebody once wanted to open
and they don't.
bathroom scale world store somewhere, because it's small scale.
Small scale, oh, yeah.
Or is that referred to fish?
But along the same line, it's like the one you have there about mobile home versus manufactured home.
Yeah, and guppy sales. Oh, God.
Outdoor recreation, and
I know,
that is, actually involved, in the,
lighting,
definition has, like, shooting
Like
range.
street shooting, yeah.
Yes.
Something like
Wide
that,
speed
speed trap,
shooting
yeah.
range in high-traffic commercial.
Right.
Yeah, okay, it's allowed.
Yeah, but,
So,
but you can't,
high traffic,
but you,
traffic.
Very special.
but you can't shoot within the confines of the.
But that would reduce the
specific
traffic, I
cases, so,
think, wouldn't
yeah.
it?
So you really can't have that really anywhere in the village,
There's little
yeah,
things that need to be looked at.
yeah, okay.
and so, wait, so small-scale sales, is that the same
never
as retail?
understood
The sales part,
that what-
like, does that mean retail?
I'm undertaking.
No, what is, yes, it's.
It should say undertaker instead of undertaking.
No, it's quite the undertaking,
Undertaking?
funeral, maybe it should say.
Undertaking?
Undertaking.
I don't see funeral home.
There's no funeral.
It seems,
I would imagine that it would,
And the thing is, undertaking is different than funeral services.
it is actually sort of,
It is very different, so
what is undertaking?
Yeah.
undertaking is
Physically
embalming.
the embalming, yeah.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Undertaking?
Which you can do at a funeral home, but you can
But you don't
Also
have
have
to.
funerals, but right, yeah, you might not do that, you might have, yeah.
I get, yeah, so
You
maybe.
might have a morgue where you do
Were
this
they
kind of thing.
concerned about the chemicals and
Sounds like
stuff?
something Mike would have to.
I think so.
I think they were concerned about the chemicals and stuff.
Okay, so I,
What about cannabis?
Yeah,
So should that?
Car wash, oh, yeah, what about car wash, automotive, where's the car wash in here? My friends at Squeaky Clean.
You'd have to look at some of the definitions.
Yeah.
It's under.
and an honest question, I want to know, like, what's the difference between sales and retail?
You have to look at definition. There is a difference.
What is the small scale? I went through this with Marty all the time.
So you have to look at definitions, it gives examples, it goes through there, and then I try to find something that is similar to each one, so then I can figure out the use.
So basically, well, we got into this too with, as we know, with assisted living facility and all of that.
It'll be
Yamil, it'll be back in 145 in the 60s.
On the definition of small site, 145/60s.
Back in the 60s, like 60.
Intent.
Well, I think that that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah,
But it sure does,
here we go.
it's updated.
Yeah,
Yes, no, we've been talking about this forever, it's time to just do it.
That would be a good,
Place to
to
start.
have a committee, and I wouldn't mind sitting on that committee to help suggest some changes on it, and then bring it back to the board. Otherwise, I think you'd be here for hours and hours and hours.
well, why don't you make
Or we
that,
could split it up or
I
something.
mean, they have to be broad enough categories, but also clear as to what they include. I mean,
And then-
it's not easy to figure that out.
And then some of them just don't make any sense. I'll just take them.
Well, they were probably put in when somebody came to do something
yeah.
particular. Put it in history.
But take a first stab at it, make those changes, and then we'll, yeah, we can kind of move forward from there.
Buggies.
And then the other thing too is, I mean, let's look at them within the context of, our comprehensive plan and make sure that the uses that we wanted to encourage within the comprehensive plan are reflected, and the ones we don't want to encourage are written up in such a way that we can restrict where they are. The other thing too that we might want to consider is, do we want something like, an active street level use overlay or something like that, or, so that, because we allow almost everything in commercial high traffic, but one of the things that we often talk about in like planning circles is that the act of people going in and out actively to your ground floor is what makes a place lively. And so if you have a thing that does not have like a storefront or something that interacts with people, is it appropriate in that area? So those are all kinds of things to think about in the context of like what we want as a village, as expressed in the comp plan.
There's medical lab, but not medical office.
Medical what?
There's a medical lab, there's
Clinic,
there's not a barber shop or hair salon, or those kinds of services,
Yeah.
personal services, kind of.
Well, medical laboratory, I've still wondered, we got a medical laboratory right over here on Craft Road,
Oh, yeah.
and it's not a human HHS, for
or is
example.
that hospital?
Which one over here?
Medical laboratory.
They take blood, there's a lab.
There's a lab over there,
The
but not the
gastro place, and right
gastroenterology,
up
but the next one up.
The 2K.
Is a medical
There's a
lab.
lab, yeah.
Use it all the
And
time.
there's another one,
Medical use.
mall.
Yeah, now there is. And so the only place we say it's allowed, which I've never understood, is HHS,
But they're also over in the Business and Tech Park.
you know?
And,
What about something like Dairy One, which is a lab, but it's not a human medical lab?
you know what, there's the other, is it a diagnostic lab or whatever, across the street from Bomax and just a little bit, is that still in the village? That building there?
Right.
The only reason I know is because I've seen the Cuba Medical van pulling out of there.
Just happened, sort of like.
They must be dropping off samples.
Yeah, medical services, so I guess.
Put a diagnostic lab over there.
In the past, 5 years?
All things to look at as we start to tackle these. So I think those are good examples to bring up too, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it, right, look at the definition, and, a lot of it is, Mike does a good job applying things consistently, so I think that's another key in there.
Right.
Anything else on that? Okay. Trustee report.
There was none.
That's right.
Hello.
There you go.
Your job, easy.
And I believe that I have Mark. Pretty sure. Me. So, March is me. I'll go around. Lorraine, anything else you want to bring up? Lisa? Right.
No,
Jim, anything you want to bring up?
No?
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have anything. Anything you wanted to bring up?
No, I don't think so.
What you got for us, Mike?
I would just update on the possible zoning change on Bomax Drive. We were unable to, a tax parcel number from the lot line change that was done, that you had done.
Yes,
We were unable to get it in time for the Board of Trustees to have a proposed zoning change for that parcel. It's going to be, Natalie and I will be working on it for the Board of Trustees for March 3rd, for them to look at the proposed zoning change for that parcel and to set a public hearing on that day for either the next time the Board of Trustees meet or a month later, depending on how quickly I can get a GML 239 from the county. They have 30 days, so it might have to take a month. And that'll also require the Board of Trustees to do a full seeker, so I'll have to make that out for them also. Other than that, until or if the zoning change occurs, after that, I'm sure you will see East Point come in and start to do a presentation to you. And as I had said at the last meeting, the proposed Bomax PDA is going to have to do a presentation on March 3rd because the project has changed so much. I sent it back to the Board of Trustees.
yeah.
And if you want to join via Zoom, you can, and if not, I will give you an update.
Oh, that would be great, thank you. Actually, I just had a thought. You know the green practices, the document, would you?
Did you find that
Would
for
you
us?
email
Yeah.
us a
I
copy of
looked
that?
too, and I
Every
couldn't
time, I think, I just have got to put it with my other stuff,
I have a whole Google Drive, I'm just gonna, throw it in there.
and I just,
Thank you.
that would be great.
I thought about that at the last meeting too, when we're like, yeah, 2 of them, I think there's 6 or
And there,
14.
and
or,
the thing
yeah.
was, it was, there's, oh, I was gonna say also too, I liked what Bolton Point came back with some of the stuff. That was, I think, that really made a lot of sense. But, when they said, this is gonna, I think at first there was some resistance, but my God, it's like a
Some of
rain
them are
barrel.
easy,
I mean,
yeah,
I could do
really
with some of them, so I think it's important that we be on top of that next time,
Yeah.
that's all, so we could be a little more. That would be helpful, thank
The
you.
other thing I think possibly, you may have a special permit for a daycare center in the Llama building.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Another thing I can think of.
Traffic?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's gonna be,
It's hard to come out, I used to go to a kind of,
how big is that building? Like, how many?
But it was,
it's bigger than it looks.
it was a doctor's office.
Yeah,
Oh, around the back.
Traffic. and-
yes, it's bigger than it
Comptrol's
looks.
office was around the back, though.
It was a McDonald's
Yes, it
first,
was
yeah.
the original McDonald's when
It's
someone
part
got
of the new
on
addition that was on the south side.
that damn red roof. Oh, God, it had to fit.
Depending on what you think might be coming up, I will not be here on, for the April, first April meeting, which is April 14th, so depending on what's coming up, we can either have it, and somebody else can chair, or if it's if it was something like tonight, we might just cancel it, but we'll wait till we get a little bit closer to figuring out. How long do you have to announce it ahead of time if we do cancel it?
Oh, I should do, I think it's 5 days.
Oh, well, okay, well, no, way before that, yeah, okay.
Okay.
5 days.
Okay.
What about Joanne's, or not Joanne's, what about
Ross,
the Dress for Less?
did they come back or go to the
They have an approved permit.
signage?
Said they didn't need to come to you for special permit because it was a change of use, but no change of parking.
Were they okay?
The sign, did they go to the BZA for the,
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the signs, Tina was her name. They got it down to 150 square feet.
they did?
Great.
You just made that sign a little bit smaller.
Okay,
Just gotta
and
ask.
that's the limit? Okay, yeah, there you go, perfect.
Excellent,
It was
okay.
150.1.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Got my ruler right out here.
It'll shrink.
Yeah, yeah.
It's winter time.
Okay,
That's right.
anything else? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:41 PM.
So moved.
By you,
Second.
Second by Lisa, all in favor?
8:41.
Nobody called. Well, I have